Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave. And let's bring in our guest today. I lost my train of thought for a second there. Must be getting super old. Randy Bridge, how you doing today? Thanks for being on the show.
I'm well. Thanks for having me, Ed.
Yeah, I was like, oh, shoot, I still haven't got rid of my beard. I'm still dealing with the VA. So I always like to go in there looking disheveled and everything instead of how I normally look. So that,
Ralphie.
yeah, exactly. If you have anything to do with PTSD, if you're clean shaven and all that, you have nothing wrong with you.
Right.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's how they look at things, which is
It's exactly how they look at things. And the reason I can tell you that is I just finally got my benefits. I finally got to 90 after fighting for 20 years. And they didn't even get my PTSD. They didn't get a bunch of other stuff. So I'll be to 100, but that's not what I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying if there's issues, you should go get your benefits. Because you own it and deserve it. As a non-combat for years, I didn't think I deserved anything. And everybody deserves stuff. Just because you got lucky and didn't have to go to combat doesn't mean you didn't get some type of PTSD or something else wrong with you.
No, that's the social contract that this country signed with us. I mean, we agreed to put our lives on the line, and this country agreed to take care of us afterwards. So I really feel like people who aren't getting their benefits they're just not following through on what they have coming to them.
And they also don't understand how important it is. One, do it for your kids and your family, your wife, if you're not going to do it for yourself, because your kids get a lot, your wife gets a lot of that, especially going through it. The reason I brought it up is we're helping so I started a veterans benefit company just helping, and I'm actually almost finished with this app I'm creating where you can just upload everything and it's going to tell you what to do and walks you through everything, does the forms for you and everything, so that you don't have to pay these companies who charge 5 times your first check and all that. But that's not why I'm bringing this up. But we were looking at a guy's CMP appointment for his PTSD, and the first paragraph showed about how he showed up clean, looks together, the whole 9 yards, and basically they say they don't have PTSD.
Lord,
a friend of mine did the same thing. I told him, he went from work. I go, you went to work and you went from work to that CMP appointment, didn't you? I go, dude, that's your first mistake.
Yeah, definitely is. So
just go home like it's a weekend.
Call it a day, right?
And then go back to that appointment.
Yeah. Something that really helped me, and it took me just about as long. I'm at 80% currently right now, but it took me damn near as long. I got out in 2003, and I didn't want to deal with it, I guess.
I understand.
So I think that folks, if they just, go and try to get these things taken care of, it really makes a hell of a difference. It did for me. It took me from a place where I was, I don't want to say I was dying, but I felt like I was, right? I was ready to quit. I was ready to quit.
And let me throw one more thing. So if you're at 80, it's easy to get to 90. It's easy to get to 100, especially you're close. You're not close to my age, but you're close to my age. We have knee issues. We have shoulder issues. We have things that we think is okay. And it's from being old, but it's from doing what we did when we were in the service. I picked up people. I carried people. I did so much and moved so much that, that's wear and tear on your joints. And I complained about it when I was getting out, and they said, sorry, you didn't complain enough while you're in. Here's your 0. And that's what the 0 means. 0 means it is service connected, but you didn't complain about it or go get treatment within the last pretty much 6 months and stuff. And then the way there's just changed that you have to have, if you're going for your benefits now, you need to show 6 months of treatment in order to make it not acute, to make it chronic. And then, so there's a lot of stuff you have to do now that people are going to get denied, and they're not going to understand why.
I tell you what, the best thing that folks can do for themselves, and I didn't even think about this, but write yourself a letter, write a letter, a buddy statement from yourself saying what all your problems are. And then have your wife or your husband, your significant other come back and validate that. Yeah, this is happening. If you have those 2 pieces, a lot of times you can get away from having to have that in-service service stuff.
But I tell everybody to order your medical records. If the newer you are out, I mean, people getting out now, they can get it in their medical record before they get out. The last 6, make sure everything's in your medical record. before you get out. And now it's electronics, totally different. We were paper, man. It's totally different thing. And when we were,
Right.
yeah, and when we were out in the field or doing, like I told somebody the other day, I worked in physical therapy. When we hurt ourselves, we just took care of ourselves. We never documented it and put it in the record unless when I fractured my carpal bone, I had to because I had to get a cast. But other than that, we took care of everything: ankles, knees, you name it. Unless it was tore completely, we took care of ourselves, and that's
Well, hell, they shamed you for going to sick call.
we just But once you got to a certain point, it wasn't so bad. But now it's even my son was skinny. He did some stuff in boot camp, and he's like, I'm not going to get seen because we've heard things where they kick you out. I'm like, okay, those are all scuttlebutt, but let's just move on. And I just keep track of it. And and when he came home for his break, we had to go see a Kaiser because he was still under Kaiser, and Dad had a hearing, all this stuff. Just go get it checked out and whatever. It doesn't have to come from military only. Even if you're in it doesn't have to come from that. Just keep track of everything. It's the lay statements you're talking about, the buddy statements are good. But there probably was something already in your medical record about this. That is why, because you have to be diagnosed with it and you have to have something from service to it. But there's a way to connect it to that without all that. But one thing that people don't understand is, and as I was writing this app, it's amazing how much I've learned from watching stuff and everything else. And secondary conditions are the gold. What I mean by that is if you have tinnitus, bring it in there. There's so many secondaries to that you can now don't have to worry about if it's connected to service. You just connect it to the tinnitus. If you have, like I have sinusitis. Do you have sinusitis?
No.
You don't have sinuses?
I probably do, but in 2001, I went through and got my tonsils out and I got my nose reamed out. So I've never had a diagnosis for anything.
Yeah, but did you do this at a VA at all? Or was it private?
No.
That was private still, okay. But I'm just, depending on where you're located, like I was at Camp Pendleton, so I don't know how I got it, but I have 50% for just sinusitis, which because I'm constantly, I'm sorry, people, this wasn't supposed to be look how old I am and how my issues show today. But what I'm getting at is I neti pot twice a day so I can breathe. Well, when I was in the service, I constantly had sinus infections, and it's in my record. So they gave me 50%. Camp Pendleton is so dusty and everything else. It's ridiculous how bad. But if you were over in, Iraq or other places and, all the PACT Act stuff, you still have to have a diagnosis that there's something wrong with you in order to get that taken care of. But if you got 70 for PTSD and you get a 50 and another 50, you're pretty much going to be 100%. I mean, don't quote me on that because it depends on how much you are for PTSD and what those things are. But the VA math is so messed up, but I finally realized how to understand it. So
math,
you're 100%. You're 100% person. So whatever your first thing is, the highest is taken off that. So say you have PTSD of 70. Well, now you have 30 left over. So you have an item that like sinusitis of 50. They take 30% of that 50, and that's 15. And now you have 85, which is 90. They round up. So then you only have to get to 95 to get to 100. So see my math? It's not as hard. It's just people don't understand how to put the stuff together. I didn't know 2 years ago when was it 2 years ago? It'll be 2 years ago in September. When I started the whole process and doing stuff to put in what I know now. If I would have known back then, I would have pushed my record a little bit longer to get that PTSD diagnosis in there. So I would have gotten the PTSD diagnosis. I didn't know that. I didn't understand to keep uploading. But that's enough about me and my issues with VA and what we do. But I'm just saying, get help somewhere. You need get your benefits. It's huge what you get from that. And don't go, well, I'm fine, because I ran into a Vietnam vet up at my cabin. Can't hear anything. Right, just so bad. I'm like, did you get benefits? No, I'm good, man. I got my retirement and everything. You can't use another $2,500 to $4,000 tax free.
I feel like everybody can, and they've earned it. They've earned it.
Exactly, and that's what we're not saying to take advantage. There are people who go, I got yelled at. Here's your 80%. Well, I don't believe in that. But everybody's different. Everybody has different levels. Everybody wasn't trained the same way. I was, at a different time. So,
yep.
All right, Randy, what's this first question I usually ask in the beginning 10 minutes ago? What service and why? Why did you pick that service?
I was in the Army. I I picked that service because that's the branch my dad was in, and oddly enough, I ended up over the course of several transfers and stuff being in an ordnance company, which is what he did. Um, I
Did you plan
really
on that?
no, God no.
Okay.
I wanted to be a helicopter pilot.
But they like, you look at your ASVAB.
Yeah, you're kind of an idiot. I don't know that we could do that.
And we don't even want you as a mechanic on them.
Yeah, right, right. So I ended up. I was an engineer first. I did that up until the end of Desert Storm, and then I went over into the reserves and I did uh, crane operator, and then after that I got cross trained into logistics. So I ended up being a pogue at the end of the day. So, but that's okay. I mean, it was honest work, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And how long were you in?
15 years. I actually got out after Iraqi freedom. I was stop lost for that, and ended up when I got back, I just couldn't stand to see the look on my kid's face from me getting deployed another time. So I didn't re-up, and I'm still happy to this day that I didn't do that. The unit that I was in ended up getting deployed back over to Turkey and Kuwait another 3 times. So,
And is that active duty or is reserve?
Reserves.
Yeah, see, that's because they asked me when I was getting out if I wanted to go in the reserves because I had my bachelor's and master's. First of all, I was like, "Well, you're going to be an officer in the Navy?" I'm like, "No," because they're only line officers. They're always on a ship. I don't want to be on a ship, constantly ship duty. Why do I want that? Gone. So it's away from. Anyway, I'll stop bitching. And they're like, going reserve. No, because they'll get called up. Oh, they'll never call us up. You want to kidding? What's going on right now? They're shutting down all the bases. They're cutting everything and putting you in the reserves. I know I've interviewed so many people who've been in the reserves and was actually deployed more than active duty people were. And I'm talking like ridiculous amount of months, unheard of months.
Yeah. Especially over GWAT. GWAT, people were going all the time. I mean, my group, I think, left for like 9 months at a time and ended up going 3 times within a 5-year period. It's ridiculous for reserves.
Right. Well, that's what the certain administration did. That's what their plan was to make the service smaller and only like, when we need you, kind of like a volunteer fire department. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah. We don't want volunteer fire departments. So it's harder on family, everything that way. I mean, it really is. Most people go into the reserves, only go into reserves so they don't have to really be in the military. And I don't mean that wrong.
Most of them do it for college money, right?
Exactly. The same reason we joined the military was for college money.
Yeah.
Even though mine was a horrible GI Bill, but let's not get into that one.
Post 9/11 was a little better.
Right. But then the other thing is if you do get benefits, even 10%, you can go back for Volk rehab. You have 15 years from if it was 2013 and before, you have 15 years from your first either discharge or your first disability check. So, and that's 36 months of college.
Yep.
Or whatever, training. So, and I know guys who used it for their masters and everything else. And other thing people don't realize, if you get 100%, I'm sorry bringing this up, but if you have student loans, they wipe them out.
What?
Yeah.
Shit, I think I shouldn't be trying harder.
Well, we'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because it's not as hard as what people, make it out to be. But a lot of people, like 70% of the people going to get the benefits right now are 50 and older. And the reason is because they were beat up for years and years and years about you can't get them, deny that kind of stuff. And now we're going back trying to get our benefits where people who've gotten out in the last 10 to 15 years, we're able to get them much easier. So
I think they're smarter too because they're keeping track of it. Most of them are.
Well, we didn't
do any of that.
Well, the other thing is we talk about it now. We didn't have this when there was internet, but it's not like this, not video cross country where I can talk to somebody in Australia and have a podcast with them. There was none of that stuff. Now we can stay connected and we can give information to more and more people. That's why we had 2 million vets get their benefits this last year.
Incredible.
There's only
It's a wonderful thing.
There's only 6 million who have benefits. Figure that one out. And out of that 6 million, like 600,000 have 100%. Everybody else has 10 to 90. Yeah.
Incredible.
One of the reasons, because it's you hear, well, if you go back, they could reduce you. It's like, God.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my ass too.
Yeah, but then you just go back and you fight it and you get put back up. It's easy.
Right.
One of the things you have to be careful is if you go to the VA primary care, do not make any statements that you're better of anything that you have disability for. Watch your mouth. Everything gets put in your medical record. So if you ever do go for anything, it's going to be there. And people will go for like chiropractic appointments for their back, and they'll tell the guy, oh man, I feel so much better. I feel like a 2. And that's like, okay, well, anything under a 7, you're, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just be careful. All I'm saying is just instantaneous, you feel much better, but the moment you get out to your truck or whatever else, it's almost back to where it was. So just be careful what you say, is all I gotta say. Say everything you want in there, but everything else, just be careful. Yeah. I think it's like a Russian or Chinese person trying to take over our country. Just think that way. So whatever you tell them, the most limited you need to tell them.
Very similar, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So you got out. What did you do so I know the whole hard hat thing, but what did you do once you got out of the service? Because you were reservist, so you were doing this while you were in, except when you were deployed, correct?
Well, I started out active and then went in the reserves after Desert Storm. So I actually went to work for the railroad.
Right.
I won't say what their name is because they're kind of.
Why is it a railroad? It wasn't a railroad, or it was a railroad?
It was a railroad.
Okay.
It's a class 1 railroad, but they enjoy suing people. So I'm very careful that I don't bring their name into it.
What's the different class? What's the class?
The biggest railroads in the country. There's different classes. So class 1 is the biggest, basically in terms of volume in the country, and we have class 2s, which are slightly smaller, and then there's class 3s, which are kind of like local railroads. There's way more railroads in this country than I thought, to be honest.
Oh, is Amtrak? Because we have Amtrak here in California. Yeah. I mean, that's like
considered a class 1.
Okay. Just wanted to understand.
Yeah. So, and then I've worked for them in various capacities for about the last 27 years. I started out scrubbing toilets on the service track. And then I was in the reserves at that time. So I do my 1 weekend a month, my 2 weeks a year. And then after I got back from Iraqi freedom, I just decided I don't want to do it. I don't want it anymore.
You didn't want to do what anymore?
As a railroader. And that's where I am to this day. I'm super close to retirement. I think I got about 3 years left, and I'm done. I can do what I want.
All right. So you're still working for the railroad?
Yep.
Right. Okay. And that working for the railroad that's what you've been doing, you said, for 27 years?
Yes.
Okay. So before you got in the service, did you go directly out of high school?
I was actually split option. So I started kind of in the reserves. That split option is you go to basic training the summer of your junior year, and the summer of your senior year, you go to advanced training. And then after that, it's active.
All right. So right after high school, you're in the Army. Okay. And then, so once you got out, then you went and worked for the railroads, cleaning toilets and other stuff like that. And then you got deployed while you were reserve, and then made some other work your way up in the railroad. Looking back, is there anything you should have done differently?
There's a lot of things I should have done differently. So that railroad gig didn't happen immediately, right? I got back. I decided I wanted to go to college, so I moved to Denver with $1,000, and not a very good plan, and ended up kind of not being able to pay for school. So even with the GI Bill and and all the other benefits we had. I just wasn't able to pay for it. That $1,000 didn't last me very long in Denver. It was a big city. I grew up in a small town in Wyoming, so I ended up being, for lack of a better term, homeless. I was living in my truck for a while, and I ended up having to call my sister and have her come bail me out. Basically, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have had a better plan. End of the day.
Yeah, well, most people who get out, we don't, we plan one way and things don't always work out that way. Plus, we lose our purpose, right? And that's important. Right. Yeah, and that's some of the stuff that we have to focus on. And there's so many things that I'm trying to do with helping vets, and one of them is help. There's 6 things we lose when we get out. One of them is our purpose. It's not talk about our camaraderie, even all the people that we do, used to being with. There's so many different things, family, everything. And it's important for us to have that connection, and we need to stay connected. And luckily today is a totally different world for most veterans getting out of the service. They can stay connected because you have all the social medias, all the different things, which we didn't have back when I got out, or at least not the way it is now.
Yeah. And maybe, the VFW, things like that, where you go in person. But there are so many tools out there right now that it's way more helpful. But back then, it just kind of felt like you're on your own. That's how I felt anyway.
Yeah, I understand. That's exactly how I felt. And I was in San Diego where there were so many vets. It's ridiculous, but you still feel like you're on your own.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the plan? So you're going to retire, but in the meantime, what happened? Because I know we talked before. So here's the problem when you talk so much in the beginning before you start. So next time when someone asks you a question, just answer the question and don't get into your whole life story, because then it throws off. And don't take that wrong. That's not getting on you and pick on you. It's just when you do that, we forget that we didn't talk about it on the podcast, and you're trying to make sure to get it in there. But you talked about you wanted to get your message across about. Is it about the heart? A book, and then about hard hat philosophy? Is that what you're trying to get your?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about how you got into that.
So I was in, and this just happened last year. I was in a really, really dark place, for probably a couple of months there. And I decided one day, I kind of woke up and decided, you know what, screw this. I can either just lay here and die, or I can try to do something. So I decided I wanted to try and do something. So I started a company called Gray Eagle Media. It's basically media geared towards those folks in the center that nobody thinks about. There's a lot of us that are in like a supervisory type role, middle management, that kind of take crap from both ways. And nobody writes books for them. Nobody makes content for them. So I decided that I was going to do that because it's something that I know about, and it's something that I care about. I want people to be able to feel like there's somebody in their corner, right? So I want to be that guy. So I wrote a book about it, and part of it kind of details my earlier life. I didn't talk a lot about my military days, but there are some in there, and there's a whole chapter on PTSD and how I got that in the military, which I think is the best part of the book. It took me like 3 weeks just to write that chapter, so I'm super happy with that. But I really feel like veterans that are getting out don't have a lot of support. I mean, they do if they know where to look, but there's nobody out there kind of banging the drums for them. The supervisors in the middle don't have a lot of support. And honestly, the blue collar workers of our country don't have a lot of support. So I wrote a book that was geared towards them. And kind of everything that Gray Eagle Media does is geared toward this group.
What does it do?
Gray Eagle Media.
Yeah, because you say you create media for those folks. So let's back up a second. So you're in that area, I assume, right? You're in the middle.
Yep.
And everybody talks about how in California we're going to have low income and we're going to have high income earners and nobody in the middle. Everybody's going to be gone. And I don't know how and I don't know who the rich people are going to be who are still here, because they're being dummies if they're still here. But back to your point of in a company, and especially in this day and age with AI, which is starting to get rid of the middle, because there's stuff that can be put into place where you don't actually have to have the middle anymore, because the AI can do that job. I'm not saying they can do all the job. It's just that's how it's been promoted at this point. There's no buffer that they need anymore. They're going to use AI as their buffer.
Yep, that's definitely the direction we're heading. And if you guys messed around with AI, it's freaking amazing. It can do so much. So this is coming for our jobs. So I really want to gear a lot of my content. Right now, I just have the one book out, and I'm starting to produce some content for social media and that sort of thing. So that's really all Gray Eagle Media is doing at this point. But there's so many things I want to do, like talking about discussing how to find purpose. Once the AI really takes us out, because it's going to take all of us out. I would say within the next 10 years.
I don't see it doing that.
You know,
I have a different take on it. It's going to make us more productive. The productivity of people are going to be so much better. The problem with AI taking us out is the AI only does so much of what it knows. What I mean is, and it got so smart so fast because we had 100 years of information for it to go through plus that. And I see it slowing down. I see it as the .com, where they thought that the internet was going to take everything over and destroy everything, and how printer, you're never going to need paper anymore because all these things that have come up over the time. Then there's an AI bubble happening right now. I'm not saying it's not going to make changes. It's not going to do. It is. It's going to make it so much easier. I can create a website in 5 minutes that blow away so many things that you have no idea through using these different types of Vibe coding software, Lovable, Replit, all this stuff. I created like multiple apps in the last 4 months from those using AI to code, and I don't have to know how to code. It's going to take some of those jobs away, but it's also going to create so many other jobs.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think at some point, especially when we reach artificial general intelligence, I just look at my job right now, and I work in a locomotive rebuild facility, so we do all of the rebuilds. There is nothing in that facility that couldn't be done with a smart robot. Nothing. So I look at that and I'm thinking, holy crap. So they're building the robots.
That's not AI. That's robotics.
Oh, it is AI because it has to have a brain.
I know, but there's machines right now that have programs in them that do all this stuff in the car, that deals with cars and welding and everything else. And we've had AI since the 50s. It's just recently became consumer, where it's forward facing to us, where we know about, we can use on a regular basis. Then they did that so they can make it smarter, and by us using it, I see a lot of stuff like that. But I also see it's going to take a lot of jobs. It's also going to create a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I wish I was that optimistic about it, but
at first I thought it was going to take them all, but I heard a thing the other day. AI is almost intelligent. It's not it's everybody calls it artificial. It's almost intelligent, meaning that it's like your kid. You have to constantly overwatch it. You have to make sure it's doing things. It messes up all the time. And it's going to continue to have that. It's only right 97% of the time. I'm using it to create the veterans benefit software I was telling you about. And if you keep it in a closed environment, it does amazing. If you let it open to everything, it's going to mess up. It's going to hallucinate. It's going to make stuff up. Just like these people are using it for court cases and all this stuff. It's like, check your shit, people. You have to ask it. Because it was one day I was vibe coding, and I told it to go back and check the code line by line and see if there's any issues. And then it was like, okay, I found these issues. And then I'm like, is there any more? And it come, I found these. I go, are you checking like I asked line by line? Not really.
No.
Not really. I'm just grabbing. I said, okay, truly check line by line. You have to add that word in there. And then it did. And then it found and then it was over. But it's, again, like I said, it's just like a child. It's like American Bull.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be for much longer.
It can only get, it's not aware. It's not aware yet, and it can't be. It's eventually there will be something that'll be aware, but and then we're gonna have what's that? I can't think of. I was trying to get the whole T-Rex thing there, but it went a little slow today. Cyberdyne or whatever.
Cyberdyne, yeah. I really hope that's the way it goes.
Randy, I won't be here when it takes over. Neither will you.
You don't think so? I think it's coming quicker than you think.
I don't. I think it's gonna fizzle out in like another year and a half and slow down. So many companies are dropping it out of their stuff. Salesforce took it out of their stuff. They're not only using it for certain things to keep them, certain things to make a more productivity increase, but not the way they were going to use it because of the hallucinations and what it's doing. So that's why I'm not saying it doesn't change a lot. I mean, using it to code, huge difference, because I haven't coded since the late 80s when I used to do database coding,
right?
And then now, now I can do, I created shortfuse.io, which is a short link creator plus a QR code that's super smart, meaning that it does it by location, by geolocation, it does it by time, it does it by everything. And if it comes up on your cell phone for some reason, it becomes clickable instead of having to get another phone to oversee it and do it. So all the stuff that, to make your life easier. So
I hope it does that. I really do. And I hope that's where it stops. But I just see these companies, any way that they can impact the bottom line, they're going to do that. And if AI becomes self-aware or even just smarter than we are consistently, I think you're going to start seeing jobs disappear.
Well, they said that Ford, 90% of its jobs are middle management. So if they could get rid of the middle management, they would be so much more profitable. What I see is you're going to have different companies. This is just like the revolution that we had, farming and everything else, the industrial revolution, where all the other stuff went away, right? This is just a totally different look at it. But there's going to be so many other opportunities. Like you can create a company. There'll be $1 billion company with one person in it.
I can see that. 100%.
That's the difference. You are able to do stuff now that you could never do before. I tell people, it's like my whole life came into place right now. For forever, I've been trying to get stuff done, do certain things, but you have to tell somebody else, right, how to do it. And they don't do it right. And then you got to correct. Now I tell one thing, what I want done, how I want it done. Yes, we have conversations and occasionally I get upset with them, but pretty much it does what I tell it to do. And also you're going to see us go back with software, how we used to pay it like $30 to $5 a month. It's going to go back to where it was in the 90s and early 2000. Here's $100 for a version. And then once you get 2, 3, and then I'll upgrade when you get up to a third version. I'm not going to do the second one because I don't want that is how things are going to change, because making software so much easier now. Why are you going to pay for it? And you got to make it cheaper. So where somebody like me, like I needed a short link, and that's why I created my app. I didn't want to pay $29. So I took 2 hours and created this software for me, and I use it. And they're like, "Are you selling it?" I'm like, "It's out there if people want it," but it was saving me money. That's the whole purpose of what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's huge. Really. I used it as an editor for my writing. So it honestly does really good at that, as long as you have the right guardrails in. If you don't have the right guardrails, it kind of.
Well, what I did is I wrote a book called Financial Freedom: Building Personal Wealth Through Home Ownership. So I uploaded it into my chat GPT and said, "This is my voice, write all my stuff in my voice and only that." And then when it would do certain things, I said, "Don't ever do that again. Remember that," and would remember. But the problem is every time you got a new updated version, you had to tell it the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating.
Yeah, but that's still
totally that.
But like for my morning shows, I would spend 2.5 hours every morning trying to figure out all the different things to talk about and put it together to do it. It takes me 2 minutes now.
It's huge time saver for sure.
And and then I also have a bunch of VAs, virtual assistants in the Philippines and stuff, who cut up all my stuff for my podcast and everything else. Well, I created a software. I drop my MP4 in and it does it all for me all the way through, and it will auto distribute it. it's 80% done. The problem is I'm trying to finish the veteran thing because I need that right now. So
right. Yeah.
because I had 5 going at the same time. I had one here, and one here in the middle, and all different. Plus my mortgage company. That's what I do for a living. I own a mortgage company. I'm doing all these things, and everybody's like, "Yeah, you got PT." One of my friends like, "Yeah, you don't have PTSD." Yeah, I understand because I got to keep my brain doing all this stuff so I don't have the quietness. I get it. Yeah,
100%.
And when quiet, I hear the ringing. Right, the tinnitus, which mine is, but I finally realized what mine was from. It's from the hydrotherapy machines when I was in the Navy at the hospital, because it was in a small room and everything was tile. And so it was so loud in there. Those things, it's like a freaking boat motor going off all the time. And so I'm like, now because I can hear, and I'm like, God, that sounds like, that's exactly what it is.
Sounds exactly like it. Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
I think most of mine came from explosions.
Yeah, if that's what they want to hear. But the one thing about tinnitus is I call it the gateway drug, because tinnitus can get you anxiety, it can get you depression, it can get you all these different things if and other stuff. And that's why they're making it harder to get now. They're making it, do we have to have hearing loss to get tinnitus? If you don't have it, that thing's coming this year. And it's because everybody would get the 10%, and then 10% could cause so many other things that, from tinnitus, which it truly can, dizziness, all this other stuff. And people have taken that 10% and every secondary to everything to 100% disability. You're shaking your head because that ringing in the ear can keep you sleeping, can keep you all, so many things that's how you should get paid for it. So
yeah, I'm shaking my head because I didn't think through these well enough when I put in my disability claim. So,
and that's okay.
It'd be good to have somebody like you on your side.
And that's and people go, well, I don't like companies that charge. I go, I have no problem people charging a flat fee as long as they get something done. I don't want them to pay $1,500 plus a certain percentage of your first check, because that's why they push you off for a year. Why it takes a year to get through, because they want that 15 months of back pay so that they can get that big percentage. I don't want that. I want you done as soon as possible. But the problem you run into is, especially what's changed now with the 21-1-4, whatever the damn thing is, about acute, you have to have, 6 months of treatment. And if you don't have that, why you don't want to file, you want to get that in and then file. So,
crazy.
Yeah, well, no, it's actually that's the diagnosis stuff too, because you have a diagnosis, you should get some treatment under your belt. So it looks like you have an issue, because you do have an issue. You just been dealing with it. You haven't allowed yourself to, like that's your new baseline is, for us, pain. People ask you, what's your pain? I go, a civilian 1 to 10 or a vet 1 to 10. It's a totally different.
They're different. They're different for sure.
5 is the 1. So for vets, 5 is the 1. You follow what I'm getting at? That's the baseline. We've moved it so far up from what we're so used to that when we say, if we say 5, we're really meaning like 9, right? And that's kind of stuff. So baseline's so much higher. And you have to remember that when you go in to talk to your doctor and you talk to the CMP people, it's your worst day. It's always your worst day. Even if you're feeling amazing right now, it doesn't matter. It's your worst day, always.
Yeah, because they'll take the good things you say and it'll turn around on you. I seen that's happened to me before.
Yeah, but like 20% for a shoulder, you can get 20% just for pain for your shoulder, right? Without having to go through a surgery, like arthritis and other stuff. That's auto. Just like it doesn't matter what you can raise it or whatever else. You're going to get 10%. You're going to get 20% for pain. And like if you have, like, say I have a right shoulder problem, well, guess what? I overcompensate with my left shoulder. Well, now my left shoulder is secondary to my right shoulder. All that stuff, your knee. I got 2 bad knees. I'm supposed to have replacement of my left one, but I don't want to yet because it's just almost the same thing as we used when I was in 25 years ago and taking care of people with their getting them total knee replacements. It's the same device. I want a good knee. I don't want these shitty knees.
Yeah, I'm in the same place with my knees. Yeah, well, them need replaced, and I'm just putting it off.
And you don't have, dude. Why are you not at 100?
I put in for it. I just haven't, and I'm in the middle of appealing right now.
I'll take 3 to 5 years. I always do a supplemental. Yeah. because everybody says, oh, do the appeal because you'll get your back pay. Yeah, but it might take 3 years and they come back and say no.
Well, even if you put in a supplemental claim and you're still within your time frame,
1 year.
That still goes back, right?
It can, yes. It depends on how you do it. Yes. Yeah. But if you put in for this, or you just do it, if you can't, a lot of times people get denied because it's not connected to service, or they couldn't, and that's what you're supposed to do, find that information to help connect it. But if you have it already, if you like tinnitus, or sinusitis, your sleep apnea can be connected to your sinusitis. Your sleep apnea can be connected to your PTSD. Your sleep apnea can be connected to other stuff, just not rhinitis, which is runny nose. Don't try that. But I'm saying if you have sinusitis, you could get rhinitis, which is runny nose. And that's another 10%. You know what I mean? It's like you can add up all these different things that I had no idea about a year ago. And, people are going to say you have no idea what you're talking about. And that's fine. I'm good with that because I know what I do. No, I'm finding out so much new stuff every day that you can.
Well, you know a hell of a lot more than I do.
It was funny because 2 years ago, a friend of mine, Abdi, he knew so much more than me. And now I know so much more than him. And guess because I've been researching this, when you're building an app out and you want to make sure that it knows everything, because I have AI in it to read your documents, read everything so that it knows what your conditions are going to be and how to connect them and everything else so that you don't have to understand that. It's going to ask you questions. Like it says, do you have hip pain on your right side from your knee? I'm like, yeah, I have freaking hip pain. Well, that's from your knee, right? And so it's like things that we don't even think about how to connect. Yeah.
I'll be damned.
You follow me? So
yeah, I definitely should have done more research before I submitted.
Don't worry about it. You can always do it again. That's the one thing about it. And there's different theories. Theories are how it's connected, whether it's direct service, secondary, the PACT Act. The other one is it's gotten worse. Like you got a waiver to get in for the certain thing, and then that got worse. Well, that you can get that covered. Yeah. So
didn't know that.
Yeah, there's different, dude. Here, for everybody, there's a VA rater, and he does a channel called VA Rater Headquarters After Dark on YouTube. And
I think I've seen that.
Guy's amazing talking about stuff. He's retiring in March, and there's a few other people that do it, but his channel is the best because he's a rater. Current rater telling you everything, how they're looking at it now. And one of the things he talked about is, hey, your shoulder is going to be at least 20% for pain. To get more, if you get 20% for your shoulder, just move on because it's harder to get the rest of it. And, and then your knee, there's so many things you can get for your knee, but if you say pain on all of them, you're going to get pain. And that's, and that's it. So, yeah, it's before you put in, talk to somebody, and I interviewed a ranger on here and he helped me and he did a lot for me. And I'm not, but I just took it to the next level. I explained to him what and he didn't want to hear me. And I'm like, okay, it's time to do my own thing and help vets a different way.
Yeah. The way that works for you, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. By helping everybody. I want everybody to be able to get their benefits, even if it's only 50%. I don't care. It's 50% more than you had before.
100%.
No, 50. I'm just kidding. All right, Randy, how do people find you and where's your book? The name of the book.
The name of the book is Hard Hat Philosophy. You can find me on hardhatphilosophy.com, which takes you to my company, Gray Eagle Media. So that is how you can find me. There's some resources on there for middle managers and folks that are having some problems with burning out, that sort of thing. Also, just exclusively for your listeners, I put up a link where they can get Hard Hat Philosophy on Kindle for free. And it's not on Kindle, excuse me. That's a PDF. It's a PDF version of Hard Hat Philosophy. But that'll be live through the rest of this week.
Well, that's too bad because you're not going to be, this is not live and they're not going to hear about it for, I don't know, 2 months.
2 months? Yeah. It's going to be 2 months before it goes out.
Yeah. Cause I have a lot you're lucky on this one. My other one is almost 6 months out after recording. That's helped me. I do a lot of podcasting, dude.
Okay.
So
What?
why don't you make a special link for me and tell me about it? I'll put it in the notes, and we'll let you know when it goes live. And at that point,
Okay.
people will have a week when you go live from listening to it.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
And my people will send you an email going, hey, here's all this stuff, and we're going live on Tuesday tomorrow. And then
Perfect.
make it live.
Yeah, let's do it
for a week. And what's this link? Because I don't know where they're. So you're going to make it a link. What? How are they going to find it?
It'll be on hardhatphilosophy.com.
I know, but you should tell me a link like grayeaglemedia.com/helping the brave. And that you go there and you get, or where the link is, and you tell me that, and I'll have that, and that people can click on it and go there and get it instead of trying to find it on your site.
So grayeaglemedia.com/helping the brave. There you go. I'll make it.
There you go. Look at that. So easy to do, man. Randy, thanks for being on the show today. Thanks for telling your story.
Thanks so much.
Is there anything I should have asked you I didn't?
No, I don't think so. I think we had an excellent conversation. I probably should have waited before I started spilling my guts before we started recording, but
not a big deal. Not a big deal. We got it in.
I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to me. Thank you.
All right, Randy. Thanks for being on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed. You take care of yourself.
You too.